What's going on, my love? So today I want to explain to you guys why it's important to explain the why to kids. So let's dive in. All right, so I always have reference stories, so let me tell you one. So in high school, we played a rival football team, and I was a cheerleader. We rode the bus with the football team, and our coach, shout out to Coach Walker, he is still so wonderful. Um, but I remember he was like, roll the windows up. I'm like, oh my God, these football players stink. It's sweaty, it's sticky, it's funky in here. Ew. And he was just like, roll the windows up. I'm like, okay. And as soon as we roll the windows up, we're driving out of the city and we're getting pounded with rocks. I guess I forget what school it was. Shout outs to Cleveland. But the bus is getting pounded with rocks. And after we kind of cleared the city, he looked at me and he was like, now you can roll the window down. Now, granted, as an adult, I understand. We come from these generations where we feel like we don't have to explain ourselves to kids. And now that I am a mother, I totally get sometimes you don't have time to explain. Sometimes it's just not worth the energy to explain. Sometimes you just need them to execute. I get it. It could be a safety issue. My daughter has seen many videos that I've shown her about why I tell her to stay next to me. You know how crazy people are when I tell you move, move, when I tell you sit, sit, that type of thing. But for the most part, we have to pick and choose our battles, okay? Because kids don't necessarily learn as quick as we want them to. They don't take in as much information as the older person will look around and notice. Obviously, in my teens, I got it. I'm with you. I see what you were telling me. All right, we're here. But would it have killed him to just say they pound us with rocks? He may not have had time to say it at the time, okay? And I get that. So shout out to Coach Walker for being protective. He's always like a big daddy teddy bear. But I just recently was riding in the car with my daughter, her dad, and her. And I don't mind her putting her hand out the window and kind of window surfing, right? She'll do that. So we're in her dad's car. Now, her dad, since birth with her, has been protective of everything. The wind blowing too much. Even when I was pregnant, I wanted a heating pad for my back. And he more so barks than explains what's wrong with him. So I've learned to say, what is your point behind this particular moment? So with the heating pad, he was scared it was going to overheat the baby in my stomach. We had to ask the doctor, just make him calm down. But it was on my back. And anyway, I needed it. It's hurting. But his mindset is it's going to bake the baby. He can't express that. He has to practice expressing his emotions. But he was adamant about barking about something versus just telling me what the real problem was. So his daughter, our daughter, is windsurfing her little hand out the window. He's, no, don't put your hand out the window. Her rebuttal, this is my child. See, his child, my child. Mommy lets me do it in her car. And I'm just in the front seat going, my child is my child. So anyway, I said, Daddy is concerned that something is going to fly past and hit your arm. Now, of course, we could get in an accident. Of course, something could happen. But the odds are very, very slim. So I'm optimistic. I'm an optimistic realist. But of course, he's the protective kind over his daughter. Very, very, don't feel like he has to explain himself. So I said, baby, this is what Daddy thinks will happen. And that's why he's asking you to do it. And you're not in mommy's car. And that's what he wants you to do. And da-da-da-da. And sometimes adults feel like they shouldn't have to explain themselves, but they should. And so he kind of gave me this look. I guess he might have heard me. But I said, do you understand? And she said, yes. But it would have been easier if he would have simply said, baby, Daddy's a little nervous that something might come along and knock your hand off, or a car accident or something like that. Now, I will say, we also have to be careful that our adult worries do not destroy our children. And I'll tell you another story, and hopefully you guys have gotten the point. When I was little, my parents were wash your hands. Don't touch that, wash your hands. Don't touch that, wash your hands. to the point where I developed a slight case of OCD. So instead of my mother taking me to the doctor, she took me to the therapist. I washed my hands so much they became raw and they started peeling. Okay. Because now in my little mind that didn't comprehend a lot of life, I was thinking, I remember this one day specifically. They put fertilizer on the grass and it was that little sign where it was like no people, no dogs on the grass is poison. So I thought because I was playing outside, at some point I must have touched the grass. At some point it had to have maybe gotten on my feet, or, I touched it and didn't remember, and, it's something bad over there. And I remember specifically going to wash my hands. And then I remember my mother, at least, she had the foresight to say, I don't think this is a physical issue. This is a symptom of her mind state, which they embedded in me with, don't touch that, it's germs. And it's like, okay. So now even with my daughter, I try to be a little less, well, we're in a pandemic, so it's kind of tough, but just be careful of the adult protection becoming debilitating to your children, and that you're worried about every little thing happening all the time. And even when you explain things, when you start to say it, like, I think we're going to get in a car accident, or I think, something's going to come along and knock your hand off. Think about the likelihood of it happening, okay? And what a lot of parents like to do is if something small happens, they go, see, I should have said something. I knew. And it's like, yeah, accidents are going to happen. But be mindful that even when you're explaining it, why you think about it for yourself, and you go, it's logical that this is going to happen, okay? Sometimes we have to, as parents, just kind of bite the bullet and let your kids be kids. But also, don't miss the amount of education you can give your kid if you explain the thought process. Last story, I promise. Come home when the lights are on. Now, let me be honest. When the street lights went off back in my neighborhood when I was a kid, that's when the fun started. We played hide and seek. No cars were on the street. We could play ball games in the street. It was fun, right? Now, not to say I spent too many nights out on the street. But if my parents would have simply said, at night, that's when rapists and kidnappers come out. You need to be home when the lights come on. Of course, we had a curfew anyway. We would have flicked the front porch lights on, bring your ass in the house type of house. Everybody's like, ooh, we see you need to go home. But if they would have simply said, kidnappers and rapists are out at night in vans taking people. Yeah, I would be like, yo, it's getting dark. I'm out. The sun's going down. I'm going home. Like, easy explanations, okay? Again, don't terrorize your kids. It's okay to educate them, but don't terrorize your kids with, all of our mental mindsets. And maybe that's why parents didn't feel the need to explain themselves, but simply explaining why can give your kids a whole. And my daughter, when I do it, she goes, oh, that's like what she does too. Oh, I'm like, okay, good. So, and she's so smart for her age. So don't discount it. Don't think that you shouldn't do it. Don't jump down your kid's throat about everything that worries you as an adult. But yes, explain some things to them. They will be smarter and wiser and probably a little bit more cooperative. So when they say why, don't talk back to me. They may truly be asking you why, to gain understanding and not be what we are trained to think they're being, disrespectful. Sometimes they're trying to gain understanding. It is not about disrespect. They're trying to learn this world, and you are their teacher, whoever you are. Sometimes a lot of times kids deserve a why, and it's not disrespect. You guys take care.